welcome to Altitude, the show that's just for you, for high school students and others that are seeking maybe careers in science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics. This show is hopefully going to shed a little light on some of the backgrounds and careers that many of our guests have that you may find interested in pursuing. So without any further ado, let's get started with today's show. With me again, as usual, is my favorite sidekick, DJ Mickey Breeze, or AKA Mickey Breeze. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful. You know, that's how we stay up. We got to keep it moving,
Most
keep it
definitely.
motivated, right?
Most definitely.
So it's kind of hard to keep that level of energy going all the time. I know whenever I see you perform, and I know you're going to talk a little bit about a lot of your performances, but it's that energy level, man. How do you keep that energy level up? And
It's most definitely a little bit difficult between, just all the ins and outs of having to get to the show on time and dealing with the weather outside and everything like that. But a lot of it is just mindset, just trying to keep a positive mindset about how the day is going to go.
Well, you love what you do. I know we don't have to repeat that because you got the passion for the music, man.
Almost definitely.
And I think you have a lot of followers that got passion for your music. But hey, look here. I just heard something. I went to the Sugar Hill Gang concert. And, I had a chance to talk and meet with a lot of people, but I mentioned your name, and it's like one person who was kind of not in the industry said, "Oh, Mickey Breeze, yeah, he's new. He's a brand new hottest thing out. He's got the thing." How do you respond? You're like an overnight success, right? You want to share a little bit about how you became an overnight success?
Overnight is a bit of a stretch. And the whole people hearing of me and the reputation thing definitely has its ups and downs. For example, a lot of what I've been trying to deal with as far as like putting my name in the industry, or at least putting my name in a lot of the club scene around here, is a lot of what I'm associated with. Not necessarily, I don't have anything bad attributed to my name, of course, but a lot of what my image kind of was built around was my age at first. So I might want to perform in a 21 plus club, or might want to perform in a stage that's, mainly based around adults and everything like that. But because people might hear my name and go like, "Oh, I've heard of him." The number one thing associated with it is, "Oh, he's that young DJ," or "He's that young new DJ," and everything like that, or "that young new performer." And it's, it's definitely a benefit and a disadvantage at sometimes, but for the most part, it's really good to have people knowing my name and just having an overall positive interpretation of what it is that I do.
Sure. So do you still move your equipment and help? What do you do behind the scenes? I mean, what is the work effort behind all of that? What is a typical gig like for you?
Okay, so a typical gig is, basically writing my own contracts, setting up just any sort of meetings or communication with a client that might want me, whether that's for DJing or trying to rap or donating my time, and a bunch of different things that go into it. So a lot of paperwork, one. Two, obviously just mapping out my transport and figuring out timing, trying to calibrate with rush hour traffic and other stuff like that, and just figuring out when I'm ready to get out the door. And then lastly, being my own roadie. Being my own roadie.
We have to do what we have to do, right?
We gotta do what we gotta do, most definitely.
Yeah. So any upcoming things you have going on? Because let me back up one quick second. I truly appreciate that hustle and that grind, because I think a lot of people do look at people in media, maybe on stage, and they say, "Oh man, that must be wonderful to be them." And on one hand, I'm sure it is great to be Mickey Breeze, right? That could be your own show. It's great to be Mickey Breeze, but you just outlined all those things that like a high school student really needs to focus in on. They have to do their English. Right. You didn't mention finance, but I know you have to, in that contract, you have to calculate the money. You got to at least be able to add, subtract, and multiply and do percentages.
And all that sort of stuff.
You got to do your bookkeeping, so that basic accounting is good, as well as all those other disciplines, just to do what you do and to be as successful as you are. So it definitely isn't an easy path, and there's a lot of respect in the hustle for the entrepreneur, right?
Of course.
So, well, before we wrap up, what do you got coming up on the horizon here?
So very, very soon, I am in the process of getting a lot of my merchandise together.
Okay.
I've collaborated with True Heads Clothing by Neil Taylor, Kamani Beard of Summer Cypher and Elements by Kamani, and Southside Customs in order to make my own line of merchandise. I have dog tags coming out, I have earrings coming out, I have shirts coming out, I have hats coming out and everything like that.
Man, is that a new release? Do I get a, what is that called?
We'll get you that exclusive.
I got an exclusive announcement on the Power Up IT Minnesota STEM Altitude Show.
We'll most definitely get you some merch down here.
Yes,
and
free, complimentary.
I got you.
All right.
And then here in the month of November, I have a lot of shows coming up in the next couple weeks, and some really big club shows at the Ice House on Nicollet and the Basement Bar in downtown Minneapolis coming up at the end of the month.
Now, how about 2020? Anything? I know you performed at Soundset in the past few years and all that. Anything out on the horizon into 2020?
I'm trying my best to try and network and work on getting me another slot at Soundset 2020. Okay. I'm officially in talks with a couple of learning organizations known as Big Bang and Deeper Learning Conferences and everything like that, because they want to bring me out to South by Southwest again this year.
Yep.
And yeah, just a lot of good stuff on the horizon as far as, trying to set up and maybe, hopefully, potentially get out of state or out of country sometime soon.
Very good, very good. Well, thank you for taking your time to come into the wonderful SPNN studios here. And you have a wonderful day today.
You as well.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me.
Hey, no problem. Welcome back. And with me is Steve Buchanan. How are you doing, Steve?
Good. Thanks for having me.
It's a joy and a pleasure to have you here, sir. So we're here with Altitude Show for our high school students to help them understand what it's like, what a day in a life might be for an IT professional, engineer, or mathematician or scientist. But in this case, it's really an honor to have a person of your caliber here that is deep into the technology. So for our youth out there, you're going to get to hear quite a few interesting things from Mr. Buchanan here. So we're going to start out a little bit talking about your education. So tell us a little bit about where you're at today and in terms of your career, and then what you think your education path was getting there. So for example, some people go to 4-year degrees, some people go to 2-year degrees, some people go certificates, and then the latest thing is really trying to buck, the system, although those 4-year degrees are very important still and beyond, but there's a lot of young folks coming out just going straight certificate, self-taught and all that. So we're just excited that you're here and you could share a little bit of your background with us. So,
yeah, so like you stated, right, there's many different options from a career education standpoint to get into IT and grow. And you could come out and you could do a coding boot camp, or you could go the 4-year degree route. You could go for certifications. You gotta map out where you want to be in the end, and maybe you don't know, but do 5-10-year plan. And then work backwards.
That's interesting. So you're saying even when you were coming out of high school, what were you thinking about when you came out of high school?
Yeah, so I landed a IT job my senior year of high school, so I finished my credits, so I didn't really have to go to school, right?
Oh, you're one of them guys that get all your credits early, okay.
So I wanted to work and make more money, and I just landed a job doing miscellaneous work for a small computer company, and they were like, we'll teach you about computers. Well, I'm like, cool. I was really just looking at the hourly wage, right?
Right.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, for a teenager. And then I'm like, okay, they'll teach me about computers. I got in there, they started teaching me, and I got into networking, and that's when I caught the bug.
Okay.
It was like, this is really cool.
So you said something very interesting. It's what you didn't say that I found very interesting was, many of us start out just opening boxes and organizing and sorting parts or doing very menial jobs, right? And I think it's a misnomer or a bad message to send the audience, right, that says you came out balling, you jumped from 17, 18 years old into the Mercedes with the management of staff and working for a major consulting company, right? So just share a tiny little bit about, if you could share one or two of the jobs that you were like, why am I doing this? Do you have any of those experiences?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
share
so
one or two if you can do that.
Like the first job, right? It was a small company, so the owner of the company also owned the building.
Ah.
So like, I had to tar the roof.
Oh no.
You
not
know,
the,
like
yeah,
that.
The
and-
building maintenance.
Yeah, like repair the parking lot. So when there wasn't computer work to do for customers,
You had to do the.
he was
business.
finding miscellaneous stuff for me to do.
So he put you to work.
Put me to work, but it taught me a lot, right? A lot of the work that I was asked to do was like, man, this is crazy,
Yeah.
right? I've never done it before, but it helped build character.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It definitely helped build character. And then I've been in help desk jobs before, like that's kind of the starting point for a lot of people. And no one wants to sit there and answer calls all day and like do tech support, but again, it builds character.
Would you agree with this statement that a lot of software people generally start in that customer service help desk area, and a lot of hardware people go like the A+ certification route and then work behind the scenes in the break fix or the help desk?
Yeah,
break
I've
fix side?
seen a lot of that. You know, like software developers might start out like doing QA or testing, stuff like that. That's, you know, the kind of jobs that folks don't want to stay in for a long time, or they're just kind of getting started. And then, yeah, in the hardware, or what I like to say, the infrastructure side, typically start out with maybe like A+ type jobs, or like I was a PC tech,
Okay.
right? So I was building computers, building servers, and kind of started there, or maybe even help desk.
Yeah.
Just kind of work your way up.
Trust me, you're giving me flashbacks. You know, I was in IT for so long, I remember all those things. Matter of fact, I had to count mail in the mailroom before the word processors and all that stuff to help justify the Wang word processor.
Yeah.
I had to count like 100 mail slots out to regional offices and independent reps and figure out how much mail was going out to see if they could afford to pay for the word processor. And the word processor was bigger than this room practically. So, but anyway, this story isn't about me, it's about you, right? So Steve, today's high school graduate, you know, that maybe is going to come out, they need to start preparing now. So this audience is 11th and 10th and 9th graders. Is there any particular big thing, whether it's, you know, software, studying Python maybe, or JavaScript, or should they focus in on A+ and hardware? Is there anything in the industry that leads them to those higher paying, higher end jobs like cloud, you know, server analyst or server support administrator or developer, right? Can you give any advice on that?
Yeah, so like back when I was starting out, there wasn't a lot of like IT programs in high schools, and there is now. Like a lot of high schools offer different classes. And I would say try a little bit of everything.
Yep.
Because at that age, you may not know if you want to become a programmer or go on the infrastructure side, or maybe you want to be a database person, or maybe you want to manage like big projects, right? Who knows what you might want to do?
Sure.
You still have a lot of time ahead of you.
Sure.
So try a little bit of everything. And then kind of start to look at what jobs are out there in the careers and understand what people are doing in those careers. And then again, figure out where you want to go. And that may change over time, and that's okay. But figure out how other people reached like that status and then work backwards from there.
Love it.
Like, okay, this person's a CIO. How did they become a CIO? What certifications did they have? What jobs did they have before they became a CIO? What kind of education do I need to have? Can I go to a boot camp? Do I need that 4-year degree? Do I need A+ cert? Do I need to go learn Python? Right? And once you kind of study how that person made it to where they are, work backwards from there and apply that towards your own career.
Well, that's a perfect segue. So what do you do today? What is your career?
So today I'm a cloud architect.
Okay.
And so I work with like Fortune 500 companies and help them move to cloud or help them with like DevOps. I do a variety of different projects, right? So I lead like teams of onshore and offshore folks, and I do a lot of stuff.
So what kind of titles, you talk about leading teams, because that's one of the things we talk about in our Power Up IT sessions is being able to manage or communicate with people around the globe, around the time zones, right? So how many, like, tell us like what a typical, you know, very briefly, are you on the telephone? Are you on video conferences? Are you up at 2 in the morning? Are you in Japan? You know, where are you at in the world when it comes to a typical managing your staff or time zone?
Yeah, so I'll give you a very consultant answer. It depends. right? So,
I can tell you work for a big Fortune. Yeah.
so every day is like different, right? I might be up at 6 a.m. because I'm on calls, I'm on meetings. I might be up at 10:30 at night, I'm on a call, or I'm doing some sort of work, or day might end early. It just kind of depends. I work from home a lot, which is awesome, especially when you live in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And
Especially with
right,
the weather that we get in the winter, like
right.
the snow and the blizzards.
But sometimes I have to travel, and it depends, right? I've been working with clients where I'm like in Tampa, Tampa Bay, and I'm sitting in an office overlooking the ocean, and that's my office for the week, right?
Incredible.
But I've been in other places where you're literally like out in the cornfields,
Sure.
and you're struggling to find a place to eat
Sure.
for lunch, right?
Yep.
So it depends, but every day is different.
Sure, sure. In your teams, I'm just curious because this has come up as a common theme in some of the other interviews. Do you find yourself being the only person of color in those types of situations?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Whether it matters, but
that's the industry. It's changing. It's slowly changing, but that's the industry.
Sure, sure.
Now, the company I work for, we actually have a black CEO who's a woman, that's amazing. And so the company I work for, like diversity and inclusion is not just a checkbox,
mark, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like we're saying this so we can look good in the
It's
markets.
a human experience.
Right.
It's just exactly who you are. It's a human experience.
So, but on our teams, there is a fair amount of diversity, but it still has a long ways to go.
Sure, sure.
Right.
And that comes up like the students that, we typically address are all from a variety of different ethnicities. And so it's really important that they understand that part of this too is developing their own hustle, their own technology, their own portfolio of skills so that they can stand on their work, right? So, because times have been changing and it's just not a gimme that you're gonna come out of high school or college or wherever and then end up in a job just because somebody's trying to fill a check mark anymore.
Yeah, it's a grind. And when you first start out, you're probably not going to make what you want to make. Maybe even 5 years into it, you may not make what you want to make. But in the space of IT and tech in general, I mean, you can make really good money.
Yeah.
That's comparable to
We
like,
had that Steve Buchanan money, right?
I mean, you can make doctor, lawyer money. You could make,
Yeah.
I mean, you could do really, really well.
You can.
But you have to, my strategy and recommendation for folks that are coming into IT is like, figure out your core, right? Get those core skills, whether you are gonna do programming, whether you're on infrastructure side, you know the stuff I'm talking about. Like, if you're infrastructure, you should know the OSI model. You should know how to subnet, right? Stuff like that. You need to get that core down.
Yeah.
Once you get that core and you get some experience under your belt, then you specialize. And when you start to specialize, that's when your career can really take off. And in the day and time that we're living in, it's important to build a brand and protect that brand, right? So you start to specialize and then kind of build a brand around the area that you specialize in. And there's a lot of different ways to kind of do that. For myself, I've actually written 6 books, tech books, and I have one right now that's with the production, and it'll be released
Very good.
in the next month.
We'll have to make sure that we get those covers so we can insert them into the show. So
Yeah, I'll definitely share that with you.
Please do. Please.
Another avenue is like speaking, right, at different events and stuff. There's a lot of tech conferences. It's one way to expand your brand and also to learn, right? When you have to speak about something or, teach others about something, you need to learn it really well.
Yeah. Third person teaching, right?
Yep.
And that's the beauty of a lot of these students, and even in the Minnesota STEM Partnership, our programs, we actually try to have other students teaching other students, because that's very important, that whole concept of stewardship and giving back. But then just the effort of having to teach somebody else, it makes you think a lot differently.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Definitely.
And it's important to give back, right? It's important to expand and share your knowledge. At least that's what I believe, is like sharing your knowledge and building that community.
Sure. So, you've covered education, you've covered career, and so we're going to talk a little bit about lifestyle just to see how we spend all that Steve Buchanan money. So, Steve, what hobbies do you have, or beyond what you do to earn your income, you have any other hobbies or things you love to do that you can share with the youth so that they know they can enjoy the fruits of their labor later on?
Yeah, I mean, I spend most of my spare time like with my family, right?
Okay.
So I like to play basketball, work out.
Okay.
I like to travel for fun. So like next week, actually this weekend, I'm going to Europe.
Nice.
And I'm going there to speak at a conference, but it's, you know, I'm going to see some different things, second time in Europe,
Sure.
right?
That's fantastic.
So being able to do stuff like that, you know.
No, you have a great brand, like you said, protecting that image. And, you know, that's another thing we try to reinforce too, is when students are out on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and then now they got TikTok and all this stuff and they're putting up these crazy videos. It's like, be careful what you post because that stuff is
Yes.
permanent,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So when you do come out and you're trying to be that IT professional or that STEAM professional, be a, you know, a doctor or a scientist, they're gonna go back to a couple of TikTok videos that you did doing some stupid stuff, right? So protecting that brand, and like every day I'm seeing like Steve Buchanan, so yeah, you gotta keep relevant, keep current. And you must be covered on every social media platform too, right? So you actually created this brand to be.
I'm actually not on like Instagram. I stopped
Okay.
with like Twitter and
Okay.
LinkedIn are my two primary platforms.
And those
but-
are business. LinkedIn is definitely more businessy for sure.
Yeah.
But I always catch you on Twitter, especially there's some very interesting things that pop up every once in a while that I try to grab and
Yeah.
you know forward and proliferate. with
There's
the-
a
with the
ton
audience, so.
of stuff on Twitter, and that's the thing. Like different platforms you might leverage for different things, right? If you're a UI tech person, you might leverage like Instagram more than someone like me, right? Or even Pinterest.
Yeah, that's very true.
So
Well, Steve, thank you. Is there any parting words, anything you wanted to say to the students before we go? You've said a lot, but.
just for the students, like the tech field is actually very exciting. There's a lot of different areas you can grow in. This is a field where, you know, you can make good money to take care of your family, take care of yourself, turn it into a career. You could come into tech as a developer and create things, right? There's a lot of different avenues that you can go in this field. You don't have to just go down the normal, like, standard path, right?
Right,
So-
right, exactly. Welcome back. And with me, I have Logan LeCompte. Logan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You know, every time we talk, there's always something new. And I've gotten into this habit of waiting for surprises to happen during the interviews. So you just shared something with me that blew my mind. What company, or can you share what company you work for, or you have to say major global?
I could say Fortune 500 company.
Ah, so you work for a major Fortune 500 company.
Yes.
And what do you do at that company?
So I am an IT supervisor for global operations on the weekend side. So what I do is I manage Unix, Intel, network, and other facets of areas on the weekend.
Fantastic. So, man, you being an old infrastructure guy myself, it was the evenings and weekends was trying to coerce and gently, you know, manipulate the staff to say, okay, how are we going to do this, cover all these hours? So they actually have a weekend shift.
Yep, have a full weekend shift.
Okay. Do you work, how many hours roughly do you work on a weekend? Is it?
On a weekend, I'll put in about 40 hours on the weekend.
Okay.
Altogether, yeah.
Okay. So how did you get to be where you're at today in terms of your education? I mean, can you give us a little, starting from the relevant things for a high school student? Like, what did you do when you were young to create interest in this? 'Cause
Yeah.
you know I have a story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, I've always had a interest in, so it started off with an interest in hacking, right? I always had an interest in hacking. I don't know if it was from TV shows or whatnot, but something in that direction, right? And so the next logical step was how can I learn it? And not just like go and randomly type something on the internet and do something stupid.
Yeah.
So went ahead and found a program, BDPA. Went ahead and joined BDPA, and from that I started learning my basic programming skills. And with that, I did that all throughout high school, which then led me to college where I continued my education, double majored in network security and network system administration. So I got really hands-on experience, went to Dakota State University, which is now, they just built a new cyber lab and everything like that. And so learned very heavily from them. But the biggest one of the biggest things was an internship. And that's what I would recommend for anyone who's trying to get into IT, is doing an internship. Because when I was in school, I started my first technical job out of college was doing networking. And I hated networking in college. I thought it was the worst thing in the world, right? Horrible. Well, it was all from the person who taught it to you, right? I was being taught by an old Army guy who did everything in PowerPoint with no like colors or anything like that. It was just like hard into you. And then getting the internship, all of a sudden you start seeing it from a corporate side and actually real use case scenarios, right? So it changes your vision of it. Because if you would have asked me before my internship if I would ever have touched networking, it would have been absolutely not.
Wow. Let's back up just a little bit. I want you to touch on two things. One is how you learned the coding and how you got into the internship. And then also, two, drilling down, I want you to talk about is it SDSU?
DSU.
DSU.
Yep.
So I know Minnesota State has created this cyber range, right? So there's some big cybersecurity activity, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But tell us a little bit about getting an internship, because everybody wants to get an internship, everybody is applying for scholarships and all that. But talk one about the title of the degree and the specific degree that you got, and how it's new and what happens there, what services are there. But then also too, talk a little bit about like how you just got an internship.
Right. So the main way that you really get an internship, I would say, is talking to people, making connections, right? So, for example, I was part of a high school program, BDPA. And during that program, we would have events where you could go and meet people who sponsored BDPA. And so doing that through this, I was able to meet some VPs and other stuff like that. From there, just kind of handed out my contact information, started making connections, and got lucky enough where they actually needed to fill in more internships, and they actually went and asked me to apply for an internship.
Fantastic. So you had your business card, networking, high school
Business
student,
cards, everything.
on your hustle, on your grind, huh?
Yeah.
Not knowing what you're getting into.
Nope.
You just followed the advice of the professionals and said, hey, you need to meet these people. And I think networking and actually the social interaction is being missed, because a lot of young people, what they're doing is they're filling out these applications, they're doing the resumes, and they're uploading them, and they're, in some cases, if they're in that top 10 percentile of, skills,
right,
then you're going to get jobs at the major companies, right? And do the we don't care how you behave, we don't care what you look like, but we're going to take you on purely as your skills. But then you have 90% of the rest of the world that has to actually hustle, prepare, shave, and do, as we both sit here with beards, right?
Yep.
You have to look a certain way and be a certain way in a professional context, right? So I think it's important for people to know that you didn't just fall into the internship. You put in a lot of years of Saturdays, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think the first or second time I met you, you were maybe 15, 16 years old. And I remember teaching you how to shut down the computers. And that's the joke.
Yeah.
I got to get my little story in here too, right? But no, I showed you how to do the remote shutdown, and you shut down all the computers in the classroom at a local health company.
I did.
And and so you were on the top 10 wanted list. But look at where that's brought you today. You're very successful. You're working for a major global Fortune 500 company. Careful not to mention any names, don't want to break any disclosures, but for you to come this far and follow that pathway is a testament to your grit, your success, and perseverance. So in your job, can you tell us a little bit about, real briefly, like what you do as an IT supervisor on those weekends?
Yeah, so a lot of what I do is I oversee ongoing projects for the most part. And so really what I tend to focus on is where can we go next? I'm someone who I don't want to see a repeating problem. If we have something and it alerts multiple times, why is it alerting multiple times? We are now in a day of age where we can do a lot of automation and we can do a lot of programming to get around those barriers. So we really are looking at, okay, let's identify the issue. And then the next step is how can we tackle it so we never see this issue again? There's a lot of people who play too much catch up. And so you're just continuously tackling these same problems, not letting people grow, right? So the main goal is to go ahead and tackle these problems and go ahead so they don't creep back up, which allows the team to grow and learn more things.
Fantastic, fantastic. So you're working weekends. You don't get a lot of weekends off, I'm taking it.
I don't get a lot of weekends off.
So you have the typical working stiff days, right? Monday through Thursday or so?
Yep, so I work Friday through Monday.
Friday through Monday. So Tuesday through Thursday, you're going buck wild with all this money that you got, all this excess capital. All
Right, got the 3-day weekend.
Big ballers,
yeah.
You got the 3 weekend. So what do you do for fun?
For fun, I travel.
Really?
I like to travel.
Okay.
Yep, I like to travel, and I like traveling.
So where's your favorite place to go?
So the past 2 years, we've gone to, we actually just got back from Cabo San Lucas, Mexico.
Okay.
Yep, so
Nice and
spend a
warm right
week
about
down
now.
there, yeah. So went there, got to come back to snow, so it was great.
Yeah. Well, Logan, thank you very much for your time, man. We appreciate you coming in. I know today is not a work day, so this works out great.
Yes.
And we're looking forward to you. And thank you again for this summer working with the kids with the cybersecurity and coming out to speak and talk. And at least we have you lined up to do some other things in the future. So
Yes, of course.
we appreciate it, Logan. So.
Awesome.
Welcome back. I'm here with Tyrone Pratt, the CIO of Minute, Minnesota IT Information Technology Services for the state of Minnesota. Am I correct in that title?
You have that correct. I work with specific agencies for the
Fantastic.
state of Minnesota. Yeah.
Fantastic. So maybe elaborate a little bit more on what you do. What is your career like?
What is my career like? Well, my career has been far stretched. Getting into information technology was never really a goal for me. Growing up, what I wanted to do was really to make a difference. And I found that one of the ways that I could make a difference is by working within government. I grew up poor. I relied on a lot of different government services to keep the house warm. The food, the bread that I ate I was a beneficiary of what the government could do for me. And so I always thought, I can remember going down as a little kid down to a welfare office with my mom and seeing how that really, I can remember down on, it's on Franklin Avenue, about 2nd and Franklin, I think is about where, in Minneapolis.
Okay.
And walking into that office and just feeling like, man, this is a place that I don't ever want to be. This isn't going to be me when I grow up.
Right.
And that was a moment in time where I really felt that it's all right, I know that I have to do something better for myself, but then I'm going to try to contribute to all the other little Tyrones to say, all right, if you got to consume state services, they're going to be the best that we can possibly deliver. So I kind of moved with that motivation, if you will, into a variety of different jobs. But currently right now I'm the CIO. I support IT for the Department of Agriculture, Department of Labor and Industry, and the Board of Animal Health. And basically, if the IT systems that me and my team have built, support, manage, do everything from seed to food seed to the food that you eat. If you work in any building or if you're employed, OSHA and all of those rules and standards are systems that we've built and support. If you're hurt on the job, the systems that we provide also support you as an injured worker. We do construction and code licensing and work around that. So if you build houses, if you're a plumber, an electrician, you have a boiler, we inspect, we make sure that work is going well. And then we manage animal disease as well, is what the Board of Animal Health is responsible for, to make sure that the animals that are on farms and different places are healthy, and that we catch diseases and try to eradicate that. So
That's incredible.
that's the stuff that my team works on.
So how would a young person that's sitting in the classroom thinking about what areas of technology or science or mathematics, STEAM or STEM, that they would get into, what type of jobs usually are good fits for students either coming out of high school, and or if you can elaborate on what type of maybe education they should consider if they want to come and work for a team such as yours?
The education, I'll tell a little bit about my journey from education. I went to school at night. So I was married, I had young kids, and I was doing school at night. I actually worked a part-time job as well at the Mall of America. I was going to school and I had a full-time job. And I have no idea how I managed to get through that.
I can tell by the energy. You did manage it.
I
though.
managed
Yes,
it.
sir. Yes, sir.
And I started my college, my undergrad at Minnesota State, or Metro State, I'm sorry, in 1989. I got my undergrad in 2007, and I finished my master's degree in 2011. So what is that? 22 years of taking night classes, but I went to school as my budget allowed. So what I would tell the youth is that there's a variety of ways to get what you want. My way is, my journey has been maybe more untraditional. I didn't go away to school for 4 or 5 years and go through that path. What I did was really take my passion for public service and looked for opportunities to advance my career either by developing the skill set. As I tell folks that I mentor right now, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, but I'm trying to learn different things so whenever I figure that out, I'm going to be the strongest candidate for that position or job. And when you interview me, I'm getting it because I prepared myself for it. So I think it's through your experiences, it's through how you volunteer and opportunities to volunteer and engage in your communities, and really honing just what you're good at. And then once you understand what you're good at, now start to take courses or classes that also kind of augment that so that you can compete. It's really a competition is how I think about it. I want to win. So how do I win? I got to have more skills, more ability, and ability to get things done than the next guy. And whether that's in IT or in any other field, organizations want people who get stuff done.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think that's the attitude that's helped me along the way.
I would agree, and I think a lot of the people that we interview here, they have to have that passion and that intrinsic or internal drive to be able to pursue this, because it's like anything, medicine isn't for everybody, technology may not be for everybody, but if you have that knack and that special passion to succeed, I think it's a great opportunity. But I'm absolutely impressed that, was there any time when you were young, like you said, you didn't want to be in these situations which could be embarrassing or demeaning, or or just you have a sense of pride that that you have more to offer this world. Was there any particular point in time in that younger age where you saw technology? Like, how did you go from like this young boy into like, oh, I like technology? Is there a particular story there?
There's not really a story. It goes back to Y2K, actually. When I first started at the state of Minnesota, I was an eligibility worker for the Minnesota Care Program. So if you applied for that program,
Medicare, yeah.
I did the application, and it was fairly straightforward work. I'm like, all right, I got into the state. That's good. I started networking, and one of my strategies around networking was really around volunteering. So if there was a little group that was going to get together to solve this problem, or this group of volunteers around that, I went, oh yeah, I'll volunteer, I'll lead it. And the idea there is that I always felt that I could implement and get stuff done. So if I volunteered for a group, I could organize it, get people to go, oh, that guy gets stuff done. Sure enough, I got the opportunity to kind of do those things, but it was Y2K that where the department was going through all of its different, this is at the Department of Human Services, going through all of its systems and seeing what anything would be impacted. And so I was looking through green bar paper, which some of the kids today won't even know.
I can relate.
Just, just
Google
stacks,
green bar,
just going through it and circling and whatnot. But that work, I was pretty efficient at that, and it gave me an opportunity then to actually work in the healthcare policy side of things, where they're like, all right, if you can understand these systems, we have to implement healthcare policies into technology to support that.
Okay.
So I was kind of a go-between
Faster,
with the
better,
policy
quicker.
and the IT folks to say, here's what the policy folks mean. IT folks understand what the IT folks.
Right.
Policy folks, this is what the IT folks mean. And I was kind of that bridge, that translator into that. But again, was able to get things done. That led to some opportunities at Human Services around project management. Before project management was really kind of a thing, it was like, all right, how do we get stuff done? So it was in the early days of project management, got an opportunity to lead a lot of projects that way, then got a promotion opportunity to run the entire project management office, actually created for the Department of Human Services. Again, all under that, I would say that I'm an implementer. I just get stuff done. I didn't have an IT background. I have an MBA and an undergrad in business. I don't have an IT degree. I have no IT certifications. I'm a project management professional, and I bring all of that
To the table.
to make the work happen.
Yeah, and you know, I've seen a shift in corporate America too, at least for the major financial services companies that I've been a part of, is that shift where the business analyst really evolved into a technical analyst, and then they're actually that bridge, like you said.
Yeah.
So the point of saying all that is to say that you can come into an IT career directly, getting those certifications or whatever, or in some of our viewers on SPNN actually are re-entering, or you know, they're retrofitting their careers.
Yeah,
and like,
yeah.
oh, I saw a guy who was doing cybersecurity. Oh, there's a cyber range and all this stuff at Mid-State, but hey, I'd like to really learn more about this. And so you can come into the IT industry from many different perspectives and angles.
Absolutely.
But for the youth, I think it's important to know that even though you have many points of entry, it also leads to a very lucrative career, right? And you have a lot of benefits. And I know the first time that we met, we were actually introduced by a previous guest on the show, Steve Buchanan, right? For the youth, it was either robotics or he was doing a seminar or something. Yeah, he was doing a Fortnite or
Fortnite.
Great. It was a great
on Azure.
Yep. Exactly. It was a fun time. So I also know you have heavy involvement when making sure that the youth have options and opportunities in their life and their career. So let's talk a little bit about on the final portion of your lifestyle, and if that includes volunteerism, that's great. If you could share a little bit about how you, as a CIO, what does a CIO do for fun, right? What do you actually do,
Do for fun. I joke, if I could make enough money, I would do this, which is youth basketball. I coach youth basketball. I've been coaching, I think my first team was probably about 20 years or so ago. I got a team right now that none of the kids are my kids. So it's an opportunity, I think, in the community that I live in. There's not a lot of people of color. And so I like to take advantage of the fact that there are all kinds of kids that would benefit from getting exposure to positive role models, regardless of color. So I continue to coach basketball, and that's really one of my true passions. I've also done a lot of work with my boys' elementary school as being on the parent-teacher organization. So I served as the chair, the financial lead, a number of different roles there. And what that, again, gave me an opportunity as a person of color is to be involved in the school. All the principals know me. All the administrators know me. They all walk into the school. They know, oh, there's Mr. Spratt, and that's Isaac and Sam's dad. It's like, yep, that's exactly what I want. And your eyes are on my kids like I got my eyes on your kids, because it takes a community really to try to advance that. So I really care a lot about trying to make my community better by contributing and doing what I can through either volunteering at the school or preferred is on that basketball court.
That is beautiful. Well, we certainly thank you for taking your time. I'm glad that we could fit into your schedule. And thank you for joining this episode of Altitude. Welcome back. And with me, I have what I've actually called Dr. Kerkvliet. Dr. Kerkvliet, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Dr. Wolf. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. You know, we have to support each other on these missions, these long education pathways to success, right? So, do you mind if I call you Greg?
Yeah, just call me Greg.
Okay, that's good. So, Greg, today we're going to talk a little bit about your education, your career, and your lifestyle, you know, and how you got to be where you're at. So I want you to tell everybody what you do today, but then I want to make that brief and come way back to the beginning, and let's start about how you got to where you're at today.
Got it. Well, I have two different jobs. I am a senior director for Target Corporation. I run all of their HR technology. So what that means is all of their staffing, recruiting, hiring, from talent management, all of payroll, all of social collaboration, every bit of HR technology that we use at Target Corp, all the way down to Microsoft, runs through my team. Within my team, I have product owners, product directors and product owners that report to me that run Scrum teams, Agile Scrum teams, and I also have an HR tech operations team and a reporting team.
Fantastic. That is an incredible role, and at Target, I know that it's fairly significant. About how many staff do you have that you manage?
I have a team of between 45 and 50.
Okay.
Globally, technically in the U.S. and a few team members in India as well.
Fantastic. So here you are, Dr. Greg Kerkvliet, and you're sitting here in front of me with an incredibly high-level job within a major corporation. What is it, Fortune 50?
Yeah, Fortune 50, Fortune 30. I think we're a little bit higher than that, but.
But like many of our other guests, they all have a story. So what's your story? When you were a kid, did you always imagine getting into technology and doing this type of work? Or maybe can you share a little bit about how you got here?
No, actually, I also teach college too, at a university in the Twin Cities called St. Mary's. Initially, when I was a kid, I wasn't really thinking about technology at all. I was actually thinking about running the street. I was worried more about chasing girls. I was worried more about being the tough kid, and I grew up in St. Paul, so I was focused on that, and I wasn't focused on my career. But I had an amazing mentor that actually stuck with me when I got into trouble in school, and he kept reinforcing that I could do more in life, and kept me focused on giving me a different opportunity. So in my high school career, I actually was able to intern in law firms. So I was initially thinking I was going to be a lawyer after I got done chasing girls and doing my own personal thing.
You make a lot of money as a lawyer, right?
Oh, definitely.
Big cars.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But through that experience, I ended up having a child really young in life, and then just really got focused on a career. And I had a mentor that took me under their wing and introduced me to technology. And as I was working my way, trying to support my family at a very young age, I ended up doing some desktop help desk support. We got an opportunity to do some side networking, and then got an opportunity to code in COBOL and Java through Y2K, which was it was a crazy time, but I was doing desktop networking, COBOL, all of that. You could wear multiple different hats back then, and I was able to learn a ton. During that same time, I was finishing up my bachelor's degree, and started my master's degree. I have a bachelor's in information technology and business management. I have a master's degree in information technology, emphasis in project management. Went to law school, little bit of a black eye on my academic career, didn't finish law school, but then was able to get a doctorate degree in organizational leadership. And throughout that entire time period, I was working full-time in IT, from desktop networking to then being a formal programmer, programming in .NET and Java, then shifted into leading in a PMO organization, and then going to my current organization running HR systems.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's an incredible story to realize that even though you weren't focused in on technology or STEM at that point in time, I don't even think STEM was a thing. It was always embedded within our classes, right? When we did go to class. But that you were able to change that based on that change in lifestyle, that change in responsibilities, and that's really an incredible testament to you and the grit and the perseverance that you have to make sure that you're caring for your family and success. So, to the students that are out there, it's never too late. I guess is really the primary message, right? It's never too late to make a correction in that. Once you find something that interests you, but I think one of the impressive things is you had somebody that actually mentored you, and you had an opportunity for them to keep staying on you, where a lot of students don't have those. And I know that we have talked, in part of your many philanthropic outlets that you do, I know that you actually help mentor others, and you actually have wrestling background as well, and you spend a lot of time coaching and helping other students get ahead. So, much applause to you on that. So we've talked a little bit about how you got to where you're at, what you've done in your career, but tell us a little bit about like all this responsibility that you have at that large organization. What do you do for fun? I mean, besides, where do you spend all your money, Greg? That's what we want to know. You got the doctorate, you've got the big job, and doing really well for yourself, and congratulations to you.
Before I talk about what I do for fun, real quick, one thing I would say is about the opportunity. So as your audience is thinking about what do I want to do next, how do you take advantage of the opportunity? I would have never thought that I would be sitting in HR today and running an HR function where I've had opportunities to be an HR business partner or a generalist. And I started my career in IT. So always take advantage of the opportunities in front of you, and don't be intimidated by, I don't know how to do that. Because if you have the right mentor, if you have the right connections, you can always learn how to do anything, but believe in yourself first. And once you believe in yourself, you'll be able to accomplish the world.
That's an incredible message.
So from doing for fun, besides chasing my adult children around and trying to stay ahead of them, I'm a learner. I'm a lifelong learner. So even though my job isn't coding today, I still code on the side. Even though my job isn't looking at networks or looking at different IT strategies, I still do that because I like to learn. I like to read. Besides that, I also work out. I run at least 3 miles, 3 miles a day. Sometimes I go up to 8 miles of cardio a day, and I lift. So I enjoy lifting weights. I enjoy doing cardio because I'm trying to be completely healthy. And I'm also looking at my life as this is my new 20s. I'm living in my 40s and my 20s. So trying to live a healthy lifestyle and really just enjoy every moment I have.
Fantastic. I appreciate your time, sir. Well, thank you coming out on this episode of Altitude.
Definitely. Thank you.